FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
It may be trite to say this, but there is no one country that can solve this crisis on its own. And it's a far bigger financial crisis because of how it's developed over the last few months. The word credit is derived from a Latin word, credo, which actually means belief or trust. And this is a crisis not just of credit, it's a crisis of trust in our financial institutions. So the stages of rebuilding that trust and confidence were, first of all, that we had to stop the banks from collapsing, and that was all the effort that was made in October, and about $1 trillion has been spent to recapitalize the banks. There's about $7 trillion in guarantees for the banks. The second stage was the monetary and fiscal stimulus, and so real help given to families and businesses in just about every country in the world is now doing that. But the third step, and the stage we're in now, is the resumption of lending, so that people can actually lend from banks, that banks can assure people that the savings are safe and secure, that householders can get money for mortgages, and that has not happened in the way that we want. So we are taking quite extraordinary measures, so too are other countries considering them, to ensure that the resumption of lending can take place.
Why is it not happening, Prime Minister?
Why is it not happening? Because there is a crisis of trust and confidence in the banking system. It's as simple as that.
But these banks feel they have mountains of so-called toxic assets. What do you do about that? How do you get those off their books?
That's what we're looking at the moment. The capitalization was the first stage of the process. What you've now got to do is look at how you can isolate the bad assets, but at the same time, while doing so, you've got to find other vehicles by which you can get lending to begin. And there is no model for this, neither in the 1930s nor anything that's happened since the 1940s, where essentially all the crises have been inflation-driven since the 1940s. So we have got to look for new ways of doing things. We've proposed an insurance-based scheme. It's similar to a good bank, bad bank scheme that is being talked about. I think there should be international discussion on what are the best models, but that is the way forward. You've got to isolate the bad assets, but you've got to find a way outside the banking system, if necessary, to see the resumption of lending. And that's why the Bank of England, like the Federal Reserve, is now prepared to buy up assets in the private sector, particularly corporate loans and other means by which we can get lending going in the economy. And that's why we're prepared to consider radical options. The old ways have not worked. We have got to rebuild the financial system. It is a crisis of confidence in the financial system, and it also comes back to issues about values, what values you respect. And I think at this time it's important to say that we reward work, we reward enterprise, we reward effort, we reward responsible risk-taking, but we cannot reward or condone irresponsible risk-taking and excessive risk-taking, which has been what has happened in the past. And so the values that underlie our markets are important as well. We want free markets, but they cannot be value-free markets.